The meaning of life. A common idea of people trying to figure out the big purpose of why we're living. And that right there is a question that I like to ponder a lot about. Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lists, a little series I'm doing to cover a bunch of broad subjects that interest me. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about that meaning of life and trying to dissect it in my own way and give an opinion about it. One of the most funny interpretations I have seen about the meaning of life came in the actual true definition of what it is. Now hearing that might be like, oh wait, there's a true definitive answer. When you look on a biological scale, if you look at what our true purpose is as human beings, and just that, it is you are to reproduce and pass down your genes. That was one of the funniest things my science teacher said to me, and I was like, you're not wrong. That's completely correct. That is exactly what we have to do because that's basically what all other creatures on Earth do is, reproduce to pass down their genes so their species can thrive. At least now with humanity, it's gotten to the point where that's not an idea of, oh, we're going to go extinct tomorrow. But now it's, what is that actual meaning for us living in this kind of life that we made for ourselves? Now there's all these things we can do and not necessarily have the worry of, oh, if I don't feed myself tonight, we're going to go extinct as a whole species. I've always at least found my own meaning, and I would say the meaning of life is really just up to the person and the interpretation of it. While I agree it would be good if you're able to just get one definitive answer, I would say for everybody, it's unique because we all have our own ideas and opinions, and that's going to change what our perception about what life is truly about. You might think that it's just that one thing of, oh, the life's meaning is to love people and have a great life. And I would say that's a good, just base thing of what's the point of life? But for me, I like to get it a bit more broad and just say, the meaning of life is have fun. Simple as that. I've made a previous video about just talking about, I believe, just ways for me to not hate as much. And for me, I just like to talk about if I'm having fun, I don't really care what I'm doing. And I feel like that goes right into what the meaning of life actually is if I'm having fun, I feel like that right there is the meaning of what this is all about. We're just biologically from a whole entire thing of species that came from just weird biological stuff 4 billion years ago, and we've gone into this new species of being able to live for 100 years pretty easily and have a bunch of stuff to do in that time. And while that seems pretty daunting at first, I always take it as just taking it step by step every day and just trying to put fun first before anything. Because I think about it is, when you're at the end of your life and you're thinking about what you've done, the first thing you're going to think about is, well, I had a lot of fun. And if you're able to think that you had a lot of fun, isn't that, I would say, the end goal everyone should then go for, is to be able to say, well, I had a lot of fun and so many good memories, so at least I was able to experience that. That right there is, I would say, what I live for, and is, I guess, the meaning that pushes me forward is just to know that whatever I'm doing, if I'm just having a bit of fun that gives me joy, that's just exactly what I feel like people should live for. Living for really big goals that get you enjoyment, I would say, is a very good task of, creating your goals, following through with them, all of that stuff. But I don't necessarily like that idea of just trying to taste a goal, and that's your idea of the meaning of life is, once I get this job position, it's going to make me super happy, and then I'm going to be able to go from there. I just like to think about it of, that cookie was actually pretty good and gave me some enjoyment, or, man, that view is just really beautiful. Or the simple things of, oh, hey, look, I found a free dollar bill, can use that for something. Just those slight enjoyments, I feel like, are what really fulfill it, where you're just able to do some stuff that gives you joy, where once you're joyful, you're just able to just kind of, I would say, relax in a way where you don't have to be chasing a bunch of stuff. Because I would say the most true enjoyment comes from you being content with who you are and satisfied with what you're doing in life. And it depends person to person. That's probably the thing I could say 10 billion times in this video is it depends person to person, but it does in that degree of what actually makes you happy. But at least for how I've interpreted the meaning of life, it's just to do the stuff that makes you fun, and then afterwards just be like, man, that was a good time, and then either keep doing that thing to have even more fun, or once you're not having as much fun with it, just move on to the next. I'm definitely an example of someone who just kind of wanted that one true meaning just to easily get by, so then you just know that, oh yeah, there's this specific meaning, so that means I just have to follow that and life will be perfect. But with at least how society is now, there's just always going to be ups and downs, and how humanity has always been, and living as, people before we had a bunch of inventions, it was just kind of, you're going to have ups and downs. You might get food for the day, you might not catch food for the day. You might have money today, but you might have to pay bills and you won't have money for the next day. There's just those certain aspects of life that are just going to kind of always be present that you just kind of have to battle for. And once you're able to at least conquer them or find ways to cope with them, I would say that idea of trying to perceive positive intentions and just perceive trying to be having fun more, I would say comes through a lot more. Because it's always going to be hard to be having fun 24/7. That's not, I would say, necessarily a real goal. And that's why my idea of the meaning of life being have fun is not always have fun. Just have fun. That could mean, just do one fun thing for the month and just kind of do some more monotonous stuff. But just that idea in the back of my head of have fun. Those 3 words I repeat to myself all the time, and it goes down to the point where it's like, if I'm not really having fun, what's the point? This whole series is called Lists, Life is Short, and I always want to interpret that as, while yes, life may be short in the grand scheme of things, there's still so much time to do stuff that shouldn't necessarily be something you need to think about because you're able to experience all of it. With how time is, life can go by pretty fast, and once it goes by, you can't really dial it back and go back in time. It's not like a memory you can cherish with a photo where at any time you can just go back to that moment, or just simply watch a show that you really resonated with and you can always go back to whenever you're feeling down. With time in your age, you can't necessarily go back, at least with current technologies. Maybe one day, but who would I know? But I feel like that's important, where if you're able to have fun, when you realize you can't put that dial back of time, you're at least able to look at it in a perspective of, man, I had that really good time just being able to live, and then going through the memories. I almost feel like one of the fun things to do is to just, when you get, I would say, to start getting just more older, is just kind of having a list of fun things you've done and putting it on a year of a calendar of your life so far of, yes, in 2017 I went to this place, in 2018 I did this thing, and just kind of having that thing of where you can look at it and be like, I've done a lot. And for everyone, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a lot. Some people like a more simple life and doing simple things, but it goes back to that idea of, if you're just doing simple things and having fun, and you're able to be like, well, I lived my simple life and enjoyed it, there's just completely no harm in that, and at the end of the day, you had your fun. I'm not necessarily trying to just repeat an idea to get it into the head of, oh yeah, I should just have fun. It's just what I came to find is a good way to keep me going, and I would say finding just a short sentence, short paragraph even, of just, what do you feel like is what you live for? And while that can definitely get philosophical, can get kind of stressful of, oh, what do I live for? But just kind of something of being like, you know what? There's this job position I want. And you know what? For now, I'm going to make that my goal, and I'm going to try and live to become that. And I would say that's similar, even though before I said that isn't necessarily a goal I want to have. I never try and make it a broad sense of what you can and cannot do, because, once again, this is just my opinion, but if there's just that one thing that's able to keep you going, that's definitely the thing I would say to always strive for. Anyways, that's going to be all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.